A major attack is going on right now as flights around the world are grounded in places like Europe and the United States. We are also seeing the arrest of an armed man impersonating a police officer at the stadium grounds for this event tomorrow on Sunday. So let's get into all the details. You guys can see here, all right, we have flights being grounded around the world, and this is due to European airports being snarled by a cyber attack, and the disruptions will continue into Sunday. And this is primarily affecting Europe, but it's affecting flights around the world, even in the US, because a lot of these planes are trying to leave to go to Europe and then make their way back, and they are being delayed. They cannot make their trips, and they're not able to get back domestically, and it's affecting flights here as well too, right? There's also a disruption at Dallas Fort Worth Airport, all right? Quote, multiple failures of telecommunication equipment are happening, and this is a major warning that our infrastructure is incredibly vulnerable to cyber attacks and disruptions, right? We also saw this arrest. You can see here, it says armed man claiming to be law enforcement detained outside of Charlie Kirk Memorial Site. This happened earlier today. This man was walking around and he had multiple different law enforcement IDs on him that were expired, that were not authorized, and he claimed to be a part of the security team. We will get into more details of that in just a second, but I wanted to talk about this really quick. It says a cyber attack at a provider of check-in and boarding systems disrupted operations on Saturday at several major European airports, including London's Heathrow, the continent's busiest, causing flight delays and cancellation. The disruption is the latest sting of hacks targeting governments and companies across the world, hitting sectors from healthcare and defense to retail and auto. A recent breach at luxury car maker Jaguar Land Rover brought its production to a halt. It says Saturday's problems were centered on Muse software made by Collins Aerospace, which provides systems for several airlines at airports globally. And it says here that the company is, quote, aware of cyber-related disruptions to the software at select airports without naming them. Heathrow Airport said it was among those affected. Brussels Airport and Berlin Airport were also affected, they said separately. Hours later, Dublin Airport said it was facing impacts from the issue, along with Cork Airport in Ireland, which is the second biggest after Dublin. Okay, and just coincidentally, right when we're seeing this, we're seeing disruptions at Dallas Fort Worth as well too. All right, so there are attacks going on. These could be foreign actors, these could be foreign groups, these even could be potentially insider groups that are causing issues as well too. All right, you can see here, it says North Texas airports returned to normal operations Saturday after, quote, multiple failures of telecommunications equipment caused cancellations and delays Friday. And think of all the weird stuff we've seen. We've seen Trump's Marine One plane had to make an emergency landing. We saw a Spirit airline plane that was making a direct path towards Air Force One. Now we're seeing cyber attacks on the airport processing softwares, and now we're seeing as well multiple failures of telecommunications at Dallas Fort Worth, which is one of the busiest airports in the country. You can see here, it says the FAA said the communications disruption impacted the facility that handles arrivals and departure at all airports in the area. More than 400 flights in and out of Dallas Fort Worth were canceled Friday. Nearly 600 flights were delayed. Right? It says that they've returned to, quote, normal levels of operations, but they are not saying that this was a cyber attack, right? It could have been a cyber attack. It's possible, right? They're saying that it was an outage, a telecommunications outage. That's the official story here, all right? But what caused the outage, and why do we see this incongruence right after one right after another. Consecutively, we see Dallas-Fort Worth affected. Now we see planes globally grounded. All right, this is affecting, because Europe's the main hub. Even if you're flying to India, okay, you're flying to Africa, a lot of times you will stop in Europe first and then you will make your flight there. Okay, so Europe is like the central hub for international travel. A lot of the flights around the world make a stop in Europe, and this is causing major issues for connecting flights, international flights, and even for flights domestically are being affected because they can't make their rounds and make their trips in and out of Europe to get back. All right, it says, quote, "This is a clear example of the FAA's outdated infrastructure and underscores the urgent need to modernize our air traffic control systems. Moving from aging analog systems to more resilient digital technology is critical to maintain the reliability and resiliency of the national airspace system." All right, so concerning, all right, to say the least. Anytime you see something like this with aircraft is concerning, because even the systems on board the planes can potentially be compromised and hacked and accessed remotely. All right, that technology does now exist. It has existed for decades, but it is becoming ever more prevalent, and that could happen where there's a remote takeover, remote cyber attack on a individual plane, even, all right, potentially even a military plane. We've seen weird incidences with the military. Remember when they lost that F-35 fighter jet a couple years ago? I think it was in South Carolina or North Carolina. All right, weird things happening, and this could even be targeting our military critical infrastructure as well too. But you can see here it says, "Armed man claiming to be law enforcement detained outside of Charlie Kirk Memorial Site." It says here, a man claiming to be a member of law enforcement was detained at the Arizona Stadium where the memorial of Charlie Kirk is taking place on Sunday, all right, tomorrow. And it says here, local police and the U.S. Secret Service are investigating the armed man who was, quote, exhibiting suspicious behavior near the State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. A memorial service honoring Kirk, who was assassinated last week in Utah, is being held at the stadium, which houses the Arizona Cardinals. It says Secret Service approached the individual who said that he was a member of law enforcement. Quote, "The individual is not a member of an authorized law enforcement working the event," the Secret Service told News Nation in a statement, and they are, quote, "investigating the circumstances as to why he was at the location." On Saturday, police identified the man as Joshua Runkles, 42. He was charged with impersonating a law enforcement officer, a felony, and carrying a weapon into a prohibited place, a misdemeanor, the Arizona Department of Public Safety said. He was booked into the Maricopa County Jail and has been released on bond. The forthcoming memorial for Kirk, co-founder of Turning Point USA, will have a Super Bowl level security measure and has been designated a level 1 SEER event. All right, so very concerning. They're already on high alert for this event. The president's going to be there, vice president's going to be there, Speaker of the House is going to be there. Essentially all the top-ranking Republican members of the House and Senate will most likely be there, and it's concerning to see these breaches and these gaps people already exploiting. What's this guy doing? All right, very just suspicious and strange. Why would he be there impersonating a law enforcement officer? Concerning. All right, was he trying to be set up? Was he trying to have inside access? Was he trying to get close to people, close to the president, members of Congress? Who knows what he was planning and what he was doing, but it's concerning. All right, so keep your head on a swivel for tomorrow, especially if you're going to this event or a similar event to this. All right, just make sure you are prepared, because even people that you think are law enforcement potentially could not be and could be doing something nefarious, right? Very just bad situation our country is right now politically. Hopefully things de-escalate, but I'm concerned for tomorrow. So let me know what you guys think down below. Hope you guys are staying safe, staying prepared out there. I hope you have big blessings for your wife and your family, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.